Okay, so if you're trying to navigate all the financial news coming out of the UK government, figuring out what support is actually available, who it's for, and crucially, how you get it, well, this deep dive is for you. We're cutting through the noise today. We're focusing on one specific thing: the government's planned £812 cost of living boost. It's currently scheduled for September 2025. Our mission here is pretty straightforward. Take the official sources, the policy documents, and turn them into clear, actionable information for you. We need to quickly unpack who qualifies, understand that 812 figure, and map out the steps you might need to take to ensure you get that payment on time. This isn't just general advice, it's about understanding the mechanics of this specific policy.
Exactly. And framing it right is important from the start. This £812 payment, it's officially called a one-off payment. So it's not a permanent increase in benefits or anything like that. It's designed as temporary, targeted help. The DWP talks about easing acute cost pressures, the impact of high energy bills, inflation on essentials, utility costs piling up. It's meant to work alongside existing benefits, really zeroing in on households they see as most vulnerable right now.
Okay, let's get into the details everyone wants first. The money and the date. £812. It's quite a specific number, isn't it? Not £800 or £850. Does the source material give any clues why that amount?
It's interesting, yeah. The sources strongly hint it's not just linked to general inflation like the CPI. It seems more targeted than that. It looks like it might be based on projected average costs for specific essential things. Think energy bill arrears for a typical household, maybe covering a chunk of that, plus something towards food cost increases for a family.
Ah, okay. So less of a round number, more of a calculation based on specific debt pinch points?
That seems to be the thinking, yeah. To cover, say, a few months' worth of the typical increase in electricity, gas, maybe essential transport costs. Sort of an intervention to stop people falling behind on those key bills.
Right, that makes more sense. And here's a really crucial point, one that often trips people up with these kinds of payments. It's £812 per eligible individual, correct?
Yes, absolutely critical. Not per household, per person who meets the criteria. So if you're a couple, and maybe one of you gets the state pension and the other gets a qualifying disability benefit, and both meet the rules individually.
Then the household could get 1,624 ka.
Exactly. That multiplier effect is vital for families to understand. It really changes the potential impact.
Okay, and the logistics. We're looking at September 2025 for payments to start going out.
That's the time frame mentioned. The whole process is managed by the Department for Work and Pensions, the DWP. Payments will mostly be automatic bank transfers, the usual way people get their benefits. Though the sources do say some might still get checks or payments into specific government accounts, like the Payment Exception Service, perhaps for older legacy benefits.
And there's a point made about speed, too, isn't there? Digital accounts get it faster.
Yes, that's standard. If your details are up to date and you use direct deposit, you'll likely see the money much quicker. Paper checks, obviously, take longer to arrive and clear.
So having incorrect details could mean a significant delay, potentially weeks, right when those autumn bills are hitting.
Definitely a risk. Keeping details current is key.
Okay, let's unpack the policy itself. Who exactly is this boost aiming at? We know vulnerable groups, but we need the specifics from the sources. What defines eligibility?
All right, we could break it down into roughly three streams based on the DWP's targeting. Group 1 is focused on older adults, specifically state pensioners. And that's designed to be quite broad. Whether you get the full state pension or a partial one, you should be included. The logic is pretty clear. Help people on fixed incomes whose buying power is being eroded by inflation.
Makes sense. Group 2.
Group 2 targets the working-age, low-income population. This generally means people receiving universal credit or certain other means-tested benefits. Now, for this group, eligibility is often tied quite strictly to receiving a qualifying payment within a specific time frame, what they call an assessment period. It's usually a set window just before the main payment is announced or processed.
And if you miss that window, maybe your claim was new or there was an issue?
That's a potential snag. Missing that specific window, even by a day, could mean you don't qualify automatically.
Okay, and the third group?
Group 3 is about disability support. The sources specifically mention people receiving personal independence payment, PIP, and attendance allowance. This acknowledges that disabled people often face significant extra costs, things like specialist equipment, adapted transport, maybe higher heating needs costs that standard benefits might not fully cover. The 812 pounds is partly to help bridge that gap.
This brings up a practical point, though, especially regarding universal credit. We know payments can fluctuate. Sometimes people get a zero payment due to sanctions or earnings changes. What if that happens during the crucial assessment period? Do the sources say anything about that?
That's a really important question about how the system actually works on the ground. The sources don't explicitly mention immunity from sanctions affecting eligibility for this payment during that window. So it suggests the standard DWP rules, including that strict qualifying day or assessment period condition, probably still apply.
Which leads to a key distinction.
Exactly. The sources stress this. If you're already in the system, getting your benefit paid regularly without interruption during that key period, you'll likely qualify automatically. No action needed. But
Yeah.
if you just applied or had a payment interruption or maybe your circumstances changed right around that time, you're more likely to fall into the group that needs to take proactive steps. And that carries more, let's say, bureaucratic risk.
Right, okay. And this is where it gets really practical, especially for anyone who thinks they might not get it automatically. It's not just about waiting, it's about potentially having to navigate the DWP system.
Absolutely. If you fall into that non-automatic group, maybe your benefit claim is new or you're on something that needs periodic reviews, there are definite steps you need to take. Don't just wait and hope. First, get onto your online benefit account if you have one. Check everything. Are your bank account details 100% correct and current? So many delays happen because of simple typos or old information.
Like an old address linked to the bank account, perhaps?
Things like that, yeah. Or just the account number being slightly wrong. Second, you need to understand how to flag non-payment if it happens. If September rolls around and ends, and you haven't received a notification or the payment, and you believe you are eligible, you'll likely need to submit a specific claim or report it. Often, this isn't a brand new claim form, but rather using the report a change of circumstances function in your online account, specifically mentioning the cost of living payment. Just phoning the general helpline might lead to long waits and less direct action.
Let's talk about the deadline risk. The sources mention retrospective claims. How realistic is that? Because waiting months extra could be a disaster for someone really struggling.
Retrospective claims are usually more of a fallback, typically allowed if the DWP acknowledges they made an error. If the issue was on your end, like failing to update your bank details, they're often much stricter.
So don't rely on it as a plan B.
Pretty much. The sources suggest there'll be a limited window, maybe 4 to 6 weeks after the main September payments go out, to officially report non-payment and query it. After that, it gets much harder. This is why keeping documentation is so important. Copies of benefit award letters, any official DWP correspondence that proves you met the eligibility criteria during that specific qualifying day period, you might need that evidence.
So the real preparation isn't just thinking about how to spend the money, it's about bureaucratic readiness. What's the checklist for someone listening now?
Exactly. Focus on getting your house in order with the DWP. Digital readiness is key. Make sure your benefit records are completely accurate now. If you know you're due for an eligibility review or need to report a change between now and next summer, do it promptly. Don't let it drift into that critical period around September 2025. And maybe think about having the right contact details or methods ready before September. Once those payments start, call centers and online systems will likely be very busy. Trying to sort out a problem then will be harder.
Good point. Planning for friction, essentially.
Precisely. Now, if we zoom out a bit and look at the wider policy context, there's a really crucial feature of this 812-pound boost designed to maximize its positive impact. The sources are very clear on this. Receiving this 812-pound payment does not affect your entitlement to other benefits.
Ah, that's huge. That avoids what people sometimes call the benefit cliff, right? Can you explain why that non-taxable, non-means-tested status is so vital for people potentially getting multiple types of support?
It's designed specifically to bypass the usual means testing rules. Normally, if someone on, say, universal credit or housing benefit receives a lump sum of money, it's treated as capital or income. And that extra capital can push them over the threshold, leading to their regular benefits being reduced or sometimes even stopped completely. They get the lump sum, but lose essential ongoing support. That's a real trap.
So the government making this 812-pound payment non-taxable and stating it won't count for means tests is crucial.
Absolutely. It ensures the full 812 pounds provides extra help without simultaneously undermining the recipient's core safety net. It's a way to inject that financial relief quickly and effectively without creating a penalty elsewhere in the system.
That really clarifies the real-world impact. Let's use those case studies from the sources to illustrate this. They mentioned a Margaret, 72, a state pensioner. She gets it automatically. How does it help her specifically?
For Margaret, the sources suggest her fixed income meant she was putting off essential things. Maybe boiler maintenance, definitely keeping the heating turned down low. The 812 pounds allows her to address those immediate heating concerns, maybe get the boiler service before winter, and also afford some higher-cost groceries she'd cut back on, perhaps things important for her health or diet. It becomes a direct investment in her health and safety.
Okay, and Jill, 40, the single parent on universal credit. Different pressures there.
Yes. For John, the sources paint a picture of using the money for different essentials, maybe covering rising transport costs for school runs or necessary appointments, perhaps catching up on utility bills that built up over winter. The example suggested he might allocate, say, 250 pounds to clear electricity arrears to avoid disconnection risk, with the rest going towards immediate household needs, food, maybe kids' school items.
And the third example, Elaine, 65, a disabled pensioner. She had to apply online, but was prepared. What was her key need?
Mobility, according to the sources. She apparently used the payment towards a deposit for a necessary mobility aid, something her existing disability allowance didn't quite cover, and maybe also to help with upkeep costs for adapted transport.
So these aren't just abstract figures. The payment is shown plugging very specific acute gaps in people's budgets.
It's exactly. The case studies really highlight that this is intended as targeted relief, while those bigger, slower-moving policy changes like long-term energy strategies or wider welfare reforms are debated or implemented. Its immediate job is to stop households falling into significant debt or crisis due to those sudden cost surges, helping them manage without resorting to high-interest credit or getting into deep arrears.
Right. So, wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you listening right now? Let's boil it down to the three most important takeaways from this deep dive. First, understand the why behind the 812 pounds it seems benchmarked against specific costs, not just general inflation. That context matters. Second, know your potential eligibility status. Are you likely automatic, or might you need to actively claim or check? That qualifying day rule is key, so check your benefit situation around the relevant time. And third, act now to make sure your details, bank, address, are correct with the DWP. That non-taxable status is great, but only if the money actually arrives smoothly. Bureaucratic delays are the main enemy here.
Well summarized. And perhaps a final thought to leave you with, building on what we've discussed. We've looked at how this one-off payment works and the release it can provide. But it prompts a bigger question, doesn't it? How effective are these temporary lump sum interventions in the face of ongoing systemic cost pressures? While the £812 offers a crucial bridge, you have to consider whether single payments like this can truly deliver long-term financial stability if the underlying costs, energy, housing, food remain persistently high. It provides relief, yes, but the deeper challenge is whether it buys enough time for the system itself to adapt and implement more fundamental, sustainable solutions. That's the ongoing policy debate.